My name's Marta, and in this Red Gaming Tech video I am here with some news from the gaming world in the last 24 or so hours. For those of you wondering, I am feeling much better after a few days on the mend and some lovely antibiotics, so it's good. Nothing worse than feeling ill, my friends, so I'm glad to be on the mend. So what do I have for you today? Well, we have some interesting voice actors confirmed for the ever-mysterious Death Stranding. We have some comments on how Microsoft needed a reboot, according to Phil Spencer. We have some less than great news from Metal Gear Survive. We also have a release date for the Sonic the Hedgehog film that apparently needs to exist. We have a very cool pre-order bonus for Final Fantasy 15. And finally, apparently video games are still being banned for violence, because apparently Jack Thompson lives on in us all. So, let's begin with Death Stranding. It's not exactly a secret that Death Stranding is pretty damn mysterious, but now we know a little bit more about it. Nothing about the story or anything like that, unfortunately. I think that's going to be something we discover for ourselves when the game finally comes out. However, it has been confirmed that the voice actors Troy Baker and Emily O'Brien are going to be part of the team. Unfortunately, the photo on Instagram which showed this has been removed, but it did show Troy Baker, Norman Reedus, and Emily O'Brien. Now, Troy Baker is pretty damn famous, doesn't really need much introduction. He was obviously Joel in The Last of Us, Booker DeWitt, and obviously Samuel Drake as well. He's had numerous high-profile roles. Emily O'Brien, however, is best known for, say, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy, and she also had a role in Final Fantasy 14 as well. So, you know, it's just a cool little tidbit to know that those names are going to be part of Death Stranding. I'm particularly curious to see what Troy Baker is going to bring to things, but of course we're going to have to wait and see, as we will with most of Death Stranding. Next up, we have some comments from Phil Spencer, and how Microsoft apparently needed a reboot. Now, I've spoke a lot about how, before Phil Spencer came along, Don Mattrick, of course, was leading the Xbox One and, of course, Microsoft on a horrible path towards an inevitable oblivion, and the Xbox One had a notoriously terrible reveal, and obviously all that horrible DRM nonsense surrounding it, and the whole thing was just a disaster area. And since then, obviously, the Xbox One has been trying to come back from that poor start that they had, and obviously Sony definitely capitalised on this as well. And Phil has spoken on this and basically said that following the troubled launch of the Xbox One, the Microsoft as a company needed a bit of a reboot, and in a very lengthy talk, which I will link in the description below, he discussed this fairly frankly, I will say. He said, quote, "It was obvious Microsoft needed a reboot. Morale had hit a low. We were massively frustrated. We kept missing big trends. In some ways, it felt like real innovation was impossible, and the infighting and fiefdoms were so famous, people made funny of it, which would have been funny if it hadn't been so true. Cultural transformation is hard and demanding work. 4 years into it, it's still sometimes incredibly slow and incredibly painful to get everyone on board, much less admit to your own biases. 4 years into it, it still requires a growth mindset, a commitment to keep listening, keep learning, and since cultural change is always ongoing." Now, obviously, when Phil came along to save the day, he did not have an easy job, let's put it that way. I think he has done impressively well to pull things out as best as he has. Obviously, it's not just him, as with any large corporation, it is a group effort, but he's obviously been the one sort of spearheading things and leading things, and obviously he has managed to pull the Xbox One out of the horrible death spin that it was in, thanks to obviously all that DRM Don Mattrick nonsense that we already know all a lot about. So he said regarding this, quote, "I've been in the role a month when I had the opportunity to speak to everyone in the team and on an all-hands meeting. The team was in a world of pain. We hadn't done our best work with the announcement of Xbox One. The product we built wasn't meeting the expectations of our customer. Market share was taking a nosedive, and it was painful to read all the headlines. Plus, most importantly, the Xbox team thought that the leadership team had gone totally tone deaf about what our customers were demanding from us. I knew I had to do more than just communicate our strategy to our customers. I had to win back our team's trust. So I chose to tell our team some confidential news we couldn't take public for a couple of months. As well as the strategy behind that decision, thousands of my team heard the news that day, and the amazing thing is, word didn't leak. Not one tweet, not one forum post. That was a significant milestone in our company to rebuild trust between the leaders and the team. It was about empathy and addressing their worries and trusting them first." And that's actually a fair point that I hadn't really considered, because obviously, you know, when we think of that whole mess that surrounded the Xbox One launch. We obviously think of Don Matrick and the higher-ups at Microsoft, but the guys who were below them perhaps were feeling equally frustrated that they could probably see a bit clearer. Oh my god, guys, can you not see this is completely the wrong approach? Perhaps their comments were falling on deaf ears, and obviously it's not down to them. They're just there to obviously support the team as a whole, and obviously it's down to the higher-ups as to the public strategy, that sort of thing. So obviously Phil sort of extended an olive branch there, and they paid it back in kind by going, do you know what, okay, we appreciate the gesture you made there, Phil. And as I say, something you like about Phil Spencer, he is obviously a PR guy at heart, but I do quite like him, actually. He always comes across as earnest as I think as you can as a PR person, as obviously as someone who's still acting as the head of the division and that sort of thing, the division of a huge corporation as well. But I think you can kind of get glimpses of humanity in there, which we definitely did not get the automaton that was Don Matrick. So I can appreciate that, if nothing else. And obviously, I think he definitely deserves numerous beers for pulling the Xbox One out of the death spiral that it was in back then. However, let's move on to a very brief segment regarding Metal Gear Survive. Unsurprising to no one ever, Metal Gear Survive is, well, it's out. I don't know if you knew that. You seem to sort of be like, oh, I'm out now, hi. And unsurprisingly, it's not looking too great. Let's just leave it at that. However, you might, if for some reason, if you might want to create a second character for the game. Perhaps, you know, some people must enjoy it. It's doing bizarrely well on Steam reviews, so I don't know. Anyway, the point is, you might want to create a second character, but if you want to do that, it's going to cost you $9.99 or £7.99 according to US Gamer. So basically, if you wish to play it as a character other than the original creator for the single-player campaign and the online multiplayer components, you'll need to pay, again, $9.99 or £7.99. Now, this is actually how much it's going to cost in the survival coins, which is 1,000 of them. And obviously, that's the microtransaction currency. So basically, you have to buy the second character slot with these microtransaction coins, which obviously you have to buy with real money on the PSN store or whatever. Obviously, you can still change your appearance for free or that sort of thing, but for some reason, if you want to play as a different gender or what have you, unfortunately, you're going to have to just start anew. You can't actually just make a second character slot because, you know, apparently that's something we can charge, you know, $10 for now, a second character slot. You know, like a fifth or a sixth or something, you know, a tenth, you know, something that might be mildly reasonable, a second. You want to play this game more than once? Cough up, son, unless you want to delete all your data. I'm just like, I can't even be outraged anymore because this is Konami and we're talking about Metal Gear Survive, which looks beyond shitty, to be quite honest with you. So it is really, really bad, but are we really surprised anymore? I know I'm not. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog, the film. I don't know why this film exists, or is going to exist. I just don't. Can we just not? Just stop. Just cease, okay? Is that alright? No? Okay. If we have to. Regardless of my personal feelings on the matter, we're mostly just puzzlement and just a weary sigh of resignation. We have the release date for the film. According to Sega and Paramount Pictures, we are expecting to see the film come out on November the 15th, 2019. So we've got a while to prepare ourselves for this thing. I mean, hopefully it's good, but I just don't see how it can be. Because it's a film about Sonic, and it's a live-action film as well. I just can't picture it. I can't picture a world where this film isn't terrible. I mean, I'd rather be wrong, but I'm just saying. Doesn't feel all that likely now, does it? Oh, anyway, let's move on, as we've got a couple of topics left, to a very quick one for Final Fantasy 15. Now, this is regarding the Windows edition, as obviously the console versions have been out for a while now, but if you perhaps pre-order a Steam copy of the Windows edition, you'll actually get what I think is a pretty cool pre-order bonus, and it's actually the kind of pre-order bonus I can get behind because it's not anything that gives you any benefit, it's just something cool and kind of neat. You unlock Gordon Freeman's outfit, so you get obviously the HEV suit, some glasses, and of course his crowbar as well. It's going to be available for the single player campaign as well as the multiplayer expansion by the name of Comrades. So, just a neat little bonus for buying it on Steam. You get the rather legendary HEV outfit and some glasses to go along with it. So, if perhaps you want to dream and squint your eyes and then pretend this is some weird new take on Half-Life, perhaps this is Half-Life 3, this is Valve's new iteration in the franchise, something completely different from its roots, yeah, sure, why not? Or perhaps take this as some weird confirmation that Half-Life 3 confirmed. In all seriousness, I think it's a pretty cool pre-order bonus. Anywho, let's end with a Rhode Island representative who is calling for a special tax on violent video games. Now, this is a fellow who is a Rhode Island representative, as already said, by the name of Robert Nordillo, or Nordolio, I'm not exactly sure on the pronunciation there. However, he has said he has some plans to introduce legislation that is going to add a 10% tax to all M-rated or higher video games sold within the state, and he is saying that there's extra revenues raised by this tax will go to a special fund for school districts to support counselling, mental health programs, and, quote, other conflict resolution activities. Okay, that's, you know, not terrible to start off with, but here is where I just completely face-palmed when reading this. He says, quote, there is evidence that children exposed to violent video games at a young age tend to act more aggressively than those who are not. No, there isn't. No, there isn't, Robert. Stop with this nonsense. However, he continued, quote, this bill would give the schools the additional resources needed to help students deal with that aggression in a positive way. So basically, he's also going on to say that obviously because they can't ban the sale of violent video games because of this little thing called the First Amendment, he is basically saying that this tax is necessary because it's the only way to address issues like school shootings by, you know, raising and allocating funds to programs aimed at reducing aggression, which apparently is caused by games. Now, I'm just going to say this right here. I am not going to I'm not going to talk about school shootings or any of that in this video. It's not the place for it. I'm not going to talk politics here or ever on this channel if I can avoid it. So don't worry. However, can we just stop with this tired argument that video games make us more aggressive? How many times does this have to be debunked? How many times? Where is your evidence? Show me the study. Show me the multiple studies that aren't biased or done on an extremely small sample size. Like, this is such an ancient argument. I could really blow the dust off of it, you know? And then, you know, make pretty snow angels and the dust that came off the argument as well. Like, yeah, the human race was such a peaceful species before video games came along and corrupted our innocent minds. Yes, we were skipping through fields of wheat, holding hands and singing lullabies together. We never once had a bloody violent conflict that went on for days and resulted in hundreds of deaths, or years even. Yeah, it's not like we've had 2 world wars or anything. Jesus Christ, I hate this argument. I'm sorry for getting worked up, but I literally cannot believe that people are still trotting out this tired shit in this day and age. Can we just please just stop? I'm getting annoyed because it's silly. Can we just stop with the scapegoating and address that it's a complex issue? I would say most people find video games quite cathartic, that if they're stressed, annoyed after a bad day, they'll come home, play their video game, whether it be something cute and innocent like Harvest Moon or something, you know, less cute and innocent like Doom, they'll probably feel better. Oh, okay, I feel better now. Like, can we just stop? Just cease, okay? Obviously, this is just going to affect Rhode Island, but I just mostly wanted to discuss that he's trotting out this ancient argument that apparently video games are the source of all our ills, and if we'd never had them, then we would just be, you know, skipping peacefully through the streets, throwing daisies at each other. We wouldn't be, you know, arguing or anything ever, apparently. Yeah. Well, obviously, it's not the end of the world if it gets voted in. Pretty annoying for the citizens of Rhode Island, obviously, to have to pay a tax because some guy decided that video games are the cause of all evil. But obviously, it is a little bit concerning that, or it would be concerning, I should say, if this were to get actually approved, because obviously it's going to have a knock-on effect, be put into place in other states, that sort of thing. And obviously, that would not be great. I would obviously prefer it not to be put into place. Let's be real here. I didn't spend the last 5 minutes, like, you know, talking in a frustrated, angry tone of voice because this is a good thing. Clearly, it isn't. But obviously, this is purely a thing that he wants to do. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be put into practice. So obviously, let's not get our pitchforks out just yet. But definitely something to pay attention to, and just more of an annoyance that apparently we're not rid of this stupid argument just yet. Anyway, that is me done for this video, but thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.